If you're struggling to create good looking videos without upgrading camera gear, in this video I'm going to share with you how to incorporate one of the most significant elements to your next video: composition. Hey fam, mga kapatid. Whether you're making videos for TikTok, YouTube, or even just for yourself, how you position your subject in your frame will influence how engaging your video can be. It's not enough that you have a single video clip or even one angle, you've got to have many angles. Most importantly, good looking angles. So for example, in this video, our model Lei will be walking through the park to take a picture of a lake. And I'll be doing my best to compose different good looking angles of her while filming this sequence. Although I will be using a gimbal to help stabilize my footage, you can also apply these same principles to some of the most latest smartphones with good stabilization already built in. I've even decided to use the same focal length that a smartphone would have, a 24mm. For our first shot, we're going to use leading lines. By keeping our camera down low, while also following our model, we are able to use the edges of the pathway as lines that lead us to the model. Get it? Leading lines. By using this method, our eyes will just be drawn to the subject not just because she's in the center, but because the pathway naturally draws us to the subject as well. To add more interest to the sequence, I also decided to have our model go off the pathway on her way to the lake. I saw a nearby bench and decided to use its edges to lead us to our model here in this clip. What do you think? Onto our second compositional technique, rule of thirds. To establish the context of Lei going off the path, I tracked her going down the path and kept her on the right third of the frame. I could have easily just followed her and kept her in the center, but by keeping her on the right third, I can give this feeling that there is more for her on the left side of the frame. Then I decided to do it again here as she gets off the bench. While we are here in the open field, I decided to take advantage of the sky and use our next compositional technique, negative space. This is where I filled up most of the frame with the sky, yet simultaneously having as little of the model in the shot. I struggled a bit here to try not to include the trees. I also tried to apply negative space here on this shot of her feet on the sand. So the sand is the negative space and her feet is the subject, or the positive space, I guess you can say. As we continue through our walk here, I decided to just walk in front of Lei and establish symmetry as another compositional technique. Although both sides of the path are not exactly the same, it's visible that while Lei is in the center of the frame, both sides of the pathway are visually balanced, with just the right amount of trees and leaves on both sides. By having two balanced halves of the frame, we have achieved symmetry. One of the most challenging compositional techniques on this walk was framing the subject in a frame. Most of the time, I crutch on a man-made structure to frame my subject, but instead, I decided to stick to nature as much as possible by using this split in a tree. It may not have been enclosed, but I was still able to frame my subject in the natural frame of the tree. For our last shot, I took advantage of the gimbal and applied depth. In order for the footage to not look so flat, I dollied out from the lake. In order for me to establish this depth, I had the trees and sky across the lake as the background, the lake as the middle ground, and the model with the surrounding greenery as the foreground. So far, what's the most interesting kind of shot for you? Okay, after filming a couple more filler shots, we've got ourselves a video sequence. Let's check it out. worried about not having a gimbal of your own to be able to film these clips, you could also do the same shots handheld by using the tips over in this video. Thanks again for watching. Now go out there and shoot for the life that matters. See ya!